What I find most interesting about Interstellar is the focus. This is a movie that seems enormous in scale, one that exists on many different planets, travels across our solar system, and goes into the fifth dimension. But despite these enormous ideas being featured in the movie, these enormous ideas take a backseat to explore much simpler ones and much more grounded ones about humanity, who we are, where we are going, and why we matter. It's about our flaws as a species, but also what makes us great. Part of why Christopher Nolan is heralded with so much respect as a storyteller is how he masks a simple question with a much bigger concept and execution. I think out of all of his movies, Interstellar is able to do that the best. When we are introduced to this world, it asks us to think about fate. We're told of the concept of Murphy's Law. That makes us ask, do we have control over our own fate? If we do have free will, that doesn't necessarily mean that we can do anything, but it means that we can try to do anything. When Cooper is faced with the choice of leaving Earth, he knows that it isn't a guarantee that he will succeed, because it may be impossible, or it could be possible, but due to human error, he still could fail. When you apply this to the end of the movie, we learn that as long as Cooper decides to go on the mission, he will succeed. The only determinant is if he chooses to go. But let's take a step back to Earth, literally. Now I want to discuss some things that we see that speak wonders about the human condition, and what people are intrinsically going to do no matter what type of a situation they are in. There are three moments that I want to single in on. First of all, the drone. The drone tells us a lot about Murphy. After Cooper explains that the drone isn't serving a purpose and could be used for the betterment of humanity to help with farm production, she doesn't want this. Her rationale is that the drone wasn't hurting anybody, so why should they do something that hurts it? This is the first of many mindsets that we are introduced to in this film. It's passive and doesn't want to disturb anyone and doesn't want to be disturbed. Although Murph embodies this trait, it's supposed to be something bigger than that. It represents a part of humanity. This is a mindset that millions of people could share. Another mindset is found within the school principal, which is brought out in the parent-teacher conference. This mindset is one that accepts fate. Cooper wants his son Tom to go to college, but the principal bluntly tells him that that won't be happening and that Tom should be a farmer. Although this mindset may be negative, it's realistic. He doesn't expect Tom to amount to much, so he keeps him down. This is what Cooper fights against. He doesn't want to accept his lowly position in the universe, and he tries to do something about it. The Yankees game in and of itself is interesting. It says more about humanity as a whole as opposed to a particular mindset. The world that we are introduced to is a shadow of the one that we used to live in. Society has collapsed, yet the small town is enjoying America's pastime. This ultimately shows that we as humans are stubborn. We're not going to let anything get in our way. We're going to do things our way. Watching the Yankees game is by no means the most practical thing to do, but it's part of what makes us human. I really love how these three messages are communicated because they achieve two things. First, they help build up this world that we are seeing, but in addition, they tell us something about humanity. The final mindset that we are introduced to on Earth is through Cooper. Right before he leaves, he is faced with a choice: to either stay on Earth with his family and live a normal life and try to be happy with the people who he loves and the people who love him, or leave them behind to make the world a better place. This is about being selfish or about being selfless. It's about choosing to put others in front of you or to put yourself first. He chooses others in front of him, and throughout the majority of the film, we must question if that was the right decision, because it looks like he could have failed. This is what makes Cooper unique, as we will soon come to learn. When other characters are in a similar situation, most are going to choose differently. After we take off and are introduced to the rest of the crew, Dr. Brand introduces us to the concept of an all-powerful love, of love being able to guide the universe and nothing even coming close to the power of love.
It means something more, something we can't yet understand.
This is the most controversial part of the movie, and turned a lot of people off from the movie. Yet upon rewatching this movie, this is one of the things that intrigued me the most. This movie did a lot to stay on track with science. I'm sure most of you have seen different videos where the best astrophysicists and other scientists have broken down the authenticity of this movie and have found that most, if not all of this, is in line with reality and what would actually happen. The area where this is not accurate is with love. Based on the somewhat limited research that people have done, love is a natural reaction, a series of chemical reactions and neurochemical processes. Yet Interstellar makes love into something greater than that. Interstellar says love is something greater than a series of chemical reactions, and it's what makes humans human. It's something that can bend reality and change the course of the metaphysical world. This isn't the first time that Nolan has explored love. The closest connection is in Inception, in that it is able to bring Cobb out of limbo and back to his children. In other movies, it acted as a guiding force. In the Dark Knight trilogy, Bruce Wayne's love of his parents turned him into Batman. In Memento, the love of his wife turned Lenny into a killer. The last two look at how far love can twist and manipulate someone into something that they never thought that they could become. But according to Interstellar, love is a way to make us human. At the end of the day, the way that people behave, and the reason that people behave irrationally, is for the people that we love. It's our ability to realize what love is that makes us special. Humans are not the only species on Earth that are capable of experiencing love. However, we are the only ones with the capacity to explore what love is. A dog, for example, can love you, but a dog doesn't know what love means. The way that I see it, this movie isn't trying to say that love is anything but a series of chemical reactions and neurochemical processes. But what makes people people is that we have given a greater meaning to it, and thus it becomes something more than that series of chemical reactions. When we are introduced to Dr. Mann, we are also introduced to yet another mindset, one that is the exact counterpart as Cooper. Whereas Cooper wants to save humanity and his family, Mann wants to save himself. He jeopardizes the future of the human race so that he can spend time with other people on Earth. He is the embodiment of selfishness. Everything that he does is for himself. His name, Man, clearly has some significance. He is the representation of humanity. Most people aren't like Cooper, ready to live without his children for the betterment of the species. Most people are cowardly and self-driven. We learned that early on, Man was driven and eager to carry out his mission. Once he spends time on his planet, he learns that he is not ready. His downfall is his pride. He thought that he could do something great, that he could save the human race, but found out that he couldn't. He is what most people are, eager to jump in head first, but when they find themselves drowning, are willing to pull others down to try and get themselves out. Towards the end of the movie, we are told about they. Exactly who they are is never really answered. They could be aliens, the humans who survive, or something completely different. Given this film's heavy connection with 2001: A Space Odyssey, a popular theory is that they are the next step in humanity's evolution, something that we are unable to comprehend or understand. In full honesty, who they are or what they are doesn't really matter or change the meaning of the film. What we do know is that they are fifth-dimensional beings capable of creating wormholes, the tesseract that saves Cooper's life, and modifying time. They are all-powerful beings capable of doing things that we cannot even imagine. But the question really isn't about them, it's about us. Why would they choose to save us when they could do anything else? Well, if they are the next step in human evolution, they would want to save us because we are them. But if they aren't human, and there's something completely different, why would they choose us? Well, the reason is our ability to love. This is what makes us unique. It is what separates us as a species compared to everything else on Earth. People are driven by love. They will do incredible things for the people that they care about because of love. A lot of people found this movie's message about love to be preachy and unoriginal. Although this concept of love being a magical force that guides the universe has been used in countless other movies before this, Interstellar looks at it in a different way. Interstellar takes this old and cliched concept and applies a scientific lens to it and examines it within a new context. This is why I love Interstellar so much. It has an outer shell that seems foreign, something that has never been done before on film. But when you break it open, it is a familiar look at humanity. Thank you very much for watching. Interstellar was one of my favorite movies of 2014. I'm glad I'm finally able to discuss it here almost 2 years later. I'd love to know your thoughts on this movie, so make sure you drop a comment and tell me what you think. Next week, we're going to be discussing The Great Gatsby. There's a link to that video on the right of the screen. On the left is my last video where we took a look at V for Vendetta. Check that video out if you haven't seen it, and I will see you next week, and thank you for watching.